Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Night Telling Tales. Welcome to Blade Runner. This is the fourth part of the case file Electric Dreams. I think currently the only published case file by Free League for their Blade Runner TTRPG. And we're having a lot of fun with it. It's really good. But before we get to more of that goodness, let's do the usual promo. If you check down below this video, you will find a number of links links to YouTube and links to Twitch. You're watching us on one of those websites. Please check us out on the other. We stream live on Twitch and then everything ends up on YouTube, just like everyone else on the planet. You'll also find links to our Patreon, links to our social media, our Discord, probably some other things as well, our merch store. I swear there's something I usually mention that I've forgotten, but it's all there. You can find it all. It's all good. We also stream multiple times a week. Mondays has been Warhammer for a little while now. That's probably going to switch to being fortnightly quite soon, probably alternating with We Deal in Lead, which will be a new series for us, and something heavily voted for by our patrons in our 2024 poll. Wednesday night is Blade Runner, and Thursday night is currently a fortnightly Wicked Ones, which will be transformed into the Yellow King come kind of the end of Aprilish, beginning of Mayish time. We also run one-shots on a more or less monthly basis. The next one is going to be Troika on Sunday, the 31st of March. A return to Troika. Second time this year we've done Troika, and the third time overall. And there is a reason for that. The reason is because we are currently kickstarting a Troika zine of our very own design called The Soft. It is weird. It is fun. It is still going, the campaign that is. There's the link in chat. Yeah, check it out. And if you, you know what, we also, I should mention, we launched another tier this week. So if you want to give us even more money, then clearly you should go do that, because you could get all kinds of good stuff, including a write-up scenario of the one shot we're going to be running at the end of the month. So there we go. Okay, what we've been doing with Blade Runner so far, and I think this worked pretty well last time, is I will bring everyone on first. So we've got a Stephen, we've got an Inga, we've got Sam, we've got an Alex. I will bring everyone on first, and then I'll run through a quick recap of what happened last week, and then we'll go around, say hi to everyone, and talk about kind of their thoughts on the case so far. So last time, there were a number of things we did, but kind of primarily 3 or 4 of them, really. Scenes tend to take a while in Blade Runner, which I actually quite like, because you can really get into it with them. And last time, it was it was both the evening and the night shift of day 1 of the investigation. First off, we had Olsen Backer going to Bullet Bob, the surplus Blade Runner store where we thought Leah might have gone to. Turns out she did go there, and after a little bit of manipulation and bribery, frankly, on Olsen's part, you located that essentially Leah had been there earlier today. So after you'd started the investigation, which was pretty useful information to have, you managed to secure yourself an assault rifle from Bullet Bob, which is probably not entirely, strictly speaking, legal, but it's probably a useful thing to have anyway. It packs a hell of a punch. And that was about it. Later on, I believe Fenner, yes, did some searching on the Esper wall for Leah's kind of going in and out of Bullet Bob's earlier that day, and you discovered her indeed going into Bullet Bob's and then leaving, going into a nearby alleyway, and not seemingly coming out. So there we go. In addition to this, in the evening shift, 2 of you, that would be Willem and Fenner, played by Alex and Inga, went to the wonderfully friendly titled Kill Magazine offices, the kind of official magazine of the empathy movement, i.e. the anti-replicant movement. You met an individual who had been there when the death took place. Yella, I'm trying to remember his second name off the top of my head. He's such an awful person, I can't remember his second name. So that will do. I literally can't. Is it? Good lord. Yella Shilar. You met him. He was awful to the point where I did some real psychic damage to Inga. I think that one's going to stick. And but you did manage to get an account of an eyewitness of the death of the Blade Runner you're investigating. And as a couple of you had, kind of been suspecting, Yella did say that the Blade Runner Sandor had been killed by Leah, shot point blank in the chest. After the kind of, he said before a brawl broke out, although by all accounts a brawl had broken out. So there was definitely some unreliableness to his narrative, but it does fit to a certain degree with the evidence you've uncovered so far. You had to engage in a kind of battle of wits and wills with him in order to do this, and he left. You were kind of uncomfortable with how smug he was as you left, really. But hey, you can't win them all, especially with a prick like that. Hey, that's swearing in the first 10 minutes. YouTube demonetization. Never mind. So, I think the only other things we did last week were a couple of downtime bits. One of which was Olsen Bakar, who had an encounter at the shooting range with Styles, who was somewhat vague and also somewhat kind of confirmed some kind of involvement with the case in some way or other, and also seemed to be very much of the opinion that you should just let Leah go. So who knows what's you didn't really manage to get anything more out of him than that, and seem to think that Olsen should have sympathies that would make her amenable to this argument. And then Willem had a kind of a flashback dream about an incident where he'd been pursued through kind of a slightly battle-torn environment by a number of replicants, which actually did happen to him. Although in this dream, said replicants were Fenner and Percival, your co-workers, and the replicant who managed to put a bullet in you and put you down was Leah. And then you woke up. So I think that's pretty much everything up to date. Let's move around the group and see what our thinking is on the case and where to go, and just, that everyone's happy and well adjusted. We'll start with Stephen. Stephen plays Percival, the analyst of the group. I think that's kind of your assigned kind of role, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Like, specializing in sort of crime scene investigations and like tech, I guess, those kind of things.
So obviously Stephen wasn't with us last week, but we're going to pick up with we might cover your downtime as well if you want. I see no problem in doing that if we just follow you through those couple of shifts. I think that's absolutely fine. But yeah, what's Percival's current thinking, having psychically absorbed the events that he didn't go through last week, but Stephen has absorbed them. What any new thoughts?
I think I think Percival is still kind of stuck on some of those revelations from Lilith Tyrell. He's going to be disturbed by the fact that his inception date is the same as Leah's, which I guess puts him kind of in the same batch of potentially dodgy Nexus 9s, the ones with like traumatic implanted memories.
I think so I think you have vocalized now that your key memory is pretty traumatic, right? So
yeah. So I think his primary thinking on the case is that, like, I guess he wants to get an understanding of whether or not the memories implanted in Leah may have had some hand in what appears to have happened, and what that means for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think literally the last time Percival was thinking about his next moves, he was pondering just going to the memory lab himself, right?
Yeah, I think that was on the cards. I think we've since then, covered some other things. So
sure. Well, next up, we have Inga. Inga plays our other replicant Blade Runner, Fenna. Inga, after your exciting slash horribly frustrating encounter last week, how is Fenna feeling, and what are your thoughts on the case right now?
I think that whole thing was much more frustrating for me as an individual, Inga, than it was for Fenna. I think for Fenna, it was a bit more kind of BAU. I think for Fenna, like, probably a whole lot's changed in terms of her thinking of things. I think that there's more information learned. There's maybe still, kind of a deepening of some existing suspicions about the non-Blade Runner people we've encountered as part of this investigation. But it's still really just kind of working through, trying to follow through the leads and kind of figure the story out. Like, I think it's a little bit upsetting to now be pretty darn confident that Leah did shoot Sandor. That seems to be pretty much confirmed by otherwise conflicting parties. But I think Fenna's still kind of in a position where she feels like there's got to be like a good reason for it. I think the kind of that first instinct of trust my other Blade Runners is kind of, and it is like Blade Runners more than the other reps, but yeah, trusting my fellow Blade Runners is still kind of strong, I think.
Then we have Sam playing Olsen Bakar. Olsen certainly had a mixed time of it last week, interacting with the gun runner / surplus merchant, and also with an interesting encounter with Styles while testing out an assault rifle. Sam, how's Olsen feeling about it, and what are Sam's thoughts on where the case is going?
I think Olsen is already feeling pretty conflicted. Like, does have sympathies with Leia clearly having some traumatic memories implanted, and that feels very wrong. Equally, Olsen has experience of kind of replicants going to great lengths to help each other rather than kill each other, and is on the side of replicants generally, and so could probably be persuaded to let Leia go, but equally feels like there's a big part of this case missing, which is why exactly Leia shot Sandor. Why did that actually happen? And as much as also might, have ties and sympathies with replicants, she also has a strong sense of being part of the department of the RDU and other Blade Runners. And the fact that a Blade Runner has been killed feels like there needs to be some kind of, not revenge, but something needs to be done about that.
Is the word you're looking for justice?
Maybe. I guess justice is exactly the word. But
yeah, and I guess it's worth pointing out that, like, obviously you, as someone who wants the best for replicants, I guess you want the best for Leia, but Sandor was also a replicant,
Yeah, exactly, a replicant and a colleague, and it's become a huge mess, and it feels like the only way to really detangle everything is to understand exactly what caused the shooting at the moment it happened. Like, I think we have a good sense of what was, like, something was going wrong with Leia, but it doesn't fully explain yet why she decided to just shoot Sandor in the middle of this club.
Absolutely. And our final player, it's Alex playing Willem Novak, grizzled grizzled non-replicant Blade Runner. Alex, how is Willem finding the case right now post horrible dream, and what are your and Willem's thoughts on? Have they changed, or are they?
Well, I was going to say grizzled, non-replicant, and non-crusty, since I kept expecting you to break that word out again.
I've learned my lesson. Clearly an unpopular term. It's unfairly maligned. I think,
something about the phonetics. I don't know. I don't think. I think Willem was an early adopter of the or mentality that you follow the evidence and you make the fewest assumptions needed, but you also try to eliminate all the possibilities, right? So I think Willem's been pretty dead set on it being a case of Leah shot Sandor from the early stages of this. I don't think that position has obviously changed. If anything, it's stronger now than ever, based on, admittedly, the motivation colored testimony from last episode. But yeah, I think this has already been mentioned. I think by both Sam and Inga, but yeah, the main interest now is for Willem is, why would she have done that? What's the motive? Why would they take the course of action that they took after doing it? As well, restocking on ammo is a big flag for Willem, and sort of to try and find out if there's someone sheltering her, or some wider body of people involved in this, or there's something about it doesn't seem as simple as just a sort of in the heat of the moment, it doesn't seem well planned. No. It seems hasty and messy, but it also doesn't seem like just a random act of hatred in a moment.
And hasty and messy tends to breed further hastiness and messiness.
Yeah, indeed. And that combined with the additional trip to pick up more ammo very recently is at the forefront of Willem's mind, I think.
Absolutely. Cool. Right. Well, let's pick up then, and we will pick up with Percival, i.e. Stephen, because as I said last time, Stephen wasn't with us, so we'll briefly return to the afternoon shift of the first day. So we'll just follow Percival through what he did that day, right? So Percival, first question for you. We said that your afternoon shift would be like your downtime. So what? As I've done with the others, let's roll on a table and see if we get like a downtime event, or if it's just like we just narrate it and it's just kind of a thing that you did.
Cool.
Do you think Percival would spend his downtime at home, kind of trying to relax, trying to process things, trying to sleep? So replicants still sleep, or do you think he'd be out and about doing similarly themed things, presumably not sleeping?
I think that Percival will have been a bit shaken by the revelations from the morning, and rather than going to sleep, I think he's going to want to seek out an ally, a mentor of his, to try and help him get some perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for that he's going to go to the RDU crime lab and meet his friend Mirren, who also has the same incept date, and was assigned to the crime lab at the same time. So we've both kind of come into the system at the same time, and she's like a big sister to Percival. Like, has incredibly high standards and is very critical and is like quite frustrating in that respect. Sort of constantly disappointed in Percival and expecting more, but I think he kind of looks up to her, and I think given what he found out this morning, he will want to touch base and have that chat, even if it's not necessarily a pleasant one. Sure.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like to me that's enough of a thing. We don't maybe particularly need to roll on the table. We can just have a scene. Where would Mirren typically be found? You said the crime lab, right? Is Mirren? She was
assigned. Yes, I assume so. So she was assigned to the crime lab, and I assume just works there in an office.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we have you kind of like stumble on her in the middle of some crime scene analysis. She's sat at one of the fairly rudimentary stations in the crime lab, not too far from where Coco would carry out the more kind of biological aspects of the crime analysis, and she's just as she always does. She basically can always tell you're there, even if you haven't made your presence known. So as you kind of like wander over the crime lab, she's got her eyes glued to a kind of microscope. It's not an actual microscope, but it's like a microscope interface, right? She's got her eyes glued to it, and as you move towards her, she just like scrapes a chair out next to her with one foot while not looking up at all.
Okay, I've slumped down into the chair. How's it going?
Busy. What do you want?
I just wanted to see you. Catch up.
What's the problem?
Got an interesting case. Looks like one of our own was killed. Prime suspect is another RDU member. Same inception date as you and I. I want to say Tyrell, but it's not Tyrell, is it?
Wallace.
It is. Yeah, Wallace. Wallace have been saying that those early models have some stability issues, partly due to implanted traumatic memories. I think the case is going to get messy, but I don't know. I can't get over the fact that we share a birthday.
Same inception date. That'll make you sentimental, won't it? You really need to stop doing that. It doesn't mean anything, you know. It wouldn't mean anything if it was a birthday either. Stop attaching emotional complications to points of data.
How are your memories, Miriam?
My memories are fine, Percival. How are your memories? Why don't you tell me why we're talking about memories and incept dates and not crime scene analysis and evidence?
Because I already analysed the crime scene. We already gathered that evidence.
Did you do it right?
I got what I could. I got a 44 round picked out of a mirror. We've got other people on the case as we speak, going to see if they can trace that to the suspect's firearm. It's looking a lot like she did it. I'm just trying to understand why. That's the next step.
So you think it has something to do with the memories?
I think it might.
Why don't you try and find out who made the memories?
I know who made the memories. They were made down in Lilith Memory Lab. We've spoken. Benno's gone and spoken to them already. This is where we found this stuff out. Look, if you're not interested in this, that's fine. I just wanted to see you, okay? I just thought it would be nice to see.
I'm interested, Percival. I just don't. You seem to be becoming personally attached to this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be coming to me. And the first thing you said was, the suspect and I share the same incept date.
And you.
But I don't care, Percival. That's the point.
Okay.
You care. And that's why you're here. Not because a Blade Runner did something. Not because you want my help with the case. It sounds like you have that all under control.
I care about your perspective, Mirren, and I thought that you might have a perspective on this. And if you don't, that's fine.
You're mistaking my apathy for indolence, Percival. I don't not have a perspective. My perspective is that I don't care. Because it's a coincidence.
Okay.
And I think you'd do well to keep that in mind. And if
Okay.
you feel differently, maybe you need a baseline test.
I don't feel differently. I'm just exploring possibilities here. We've got a case where the motive is very hard to figure out, where what happened apparently happened very suddenly. And I'm just trying to understand that. But thanks for your time, Mirren.
That's all right, Percival.
Lovely to see you.
Stop following your gut. Data. It's all data. She looks over at you quite sternly. She was made to resemble kind of maybe a woman in her early middle years with sort of kind of iron grey hair. And it gives her a somewhat stern and foreboding appearance, which matches her personality, clearly.
Yep. Thank you.
So that was very much clearly a very satisfying encounter for Percival.
Lovely downtime.
Lovely downtime. However, it does still clear a stress, and I doubt you've taken any damage.
Just stress.
For you. Just stress. And also, it will earn you a humanity point for engaging with your key relationship at the end of the session. But speaking of things like stress and points and stuff, I mentioned earlier in our backstage that I was thinking about doling out some retrospective stress to some characters, just because I don't think I've been doing it enough, having reread the stress rules earlier today. Having said that, I'm perfectly happy for my players to go, that's not fair, you monster. So it's up to them whether they think it's a good idea. But just as an example of how I'd hand them out, and this definitely may lead one of our characters to object to it because they're going to get an unfair portion of it. I would propose that I think two things could have caused stress so far in the story. One, which is kind of a lesser argument, would be whether Fenner and Willem want to take stress for their encounter at the Kill Magazine offices. It's up to you. I think that's kind of like up to you whether you think your character would be stressed out by that situation. It was pretty confrontational, but it didn't, actually come to blows or anything like that. So it's up to you. I suspect it's more a case of it stressed out the players rather than the characters themselves more than anything.
I
So
definitely
maybe
took a stress point for that
you
personally
took a stress
as a player.
point,
Yeah.
but not Fenner so much. Sure. Where I think if we are going to apply some retrospective ones, I think the most definite one is I think Fenner should take a stress point for going through the memory. I think that was a pretty brutal thing to experience.
Sometimes stress hits you a little bit later. I'm fine to take it retrospectively.
Yeah. Weirdly, the stress guide kind of it has stress points for being threatened with violence or violence, a threat of violence, but it doesn't have stress points for actually engaging in violence. And I'm assuming the intention is it's because if you've then actually gone through the violence, that stress is sort of expended because like the adrenaline, everything else. So I'm not going to propose one for Olsen for getting into the scuffle with the guy at the door either. Yeah, we think that's appropriate then.
Probably also because if you actually end up in a violent situation, then you're sort of you're at risk of taking the other kind of damage, right? So it's sort of
Yeah,
it might be too much to stack them both.
Yeah, to stack it all up. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, with that in mind, let's move on to the evening shift. Again, Stephen's the person without something to do here. Stephen, what do you think Percival will have spent that shift doing?
So back on the case, I think the most fruitful lead is probably the Metro cab, right? Like, so we saw in the aftermath, Leah walked down the street, got into a cab, I think alone.
Mhm.
We know from Bullet Bob's testimony that later that morning she turned up at his. We don't know what happened in between.
Yeah, there's hours and hours between those two things. So, like, yeah. And also notable is that, I mean, a Metro cab could have been parked further down the street, but in the Esper footage, she walked just out of the crowd, like into Bullet Bob's. So she wasn't getting out of a Metro cab there. So,
Yeah. So
on camera.
I guess I'm trying to work out the best way to investigate that, whether that's like go to Metro cab's offices and ask if someone remembers, or whether there are, because I have the number for the cab, right? Like whether there's
Yeah, you do, and I think you also did manage to find the location of the Metro cab dispatch.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would just have to go there. Yeah.
Okay. Then that is what I will do.
Okay. Then you find yourself in this evening shift in a dingy old building in Sector 5. A dozen people work in a rundown and dirty office space. It's pretty it's pretty low rent stuff. And you basically just walk into this this room where there's sort of someone working a front desk, but everyone is basically just ignoring you and going about their business. Some people are on dispatch, some people are like tapping away on terminals in the back. And like I said, there's a person up front who is working on a terminal, but is clearly the person meant to engage with people walking into the office, but they have not engaged with you.
Okay. We'll stand there for a moment, and if they don't look up, pull the RDU badge. If they still don't look up, put the RDU badge between their eyes and the screen.
They're tapping away. It's kind of a slightly kind of quite muscly, bulky woman in her mid-40s, and you can see that she has like a name badge with a sort of cheery smiley face on it saying, "Hi, my name is Ermgard," and she sort of basically doesn't look up until you put the badge in front of her face, and she kind of blinks and leans back and goes, "Oh, all right, okay, yep."
Hi. Need to trace a cab from last night. The passenger. You got a system for tracking them? You got logs?
Yeah, we yeah, we've got systems, we've got logs. I don't know that we're meant to just. I mean, is this pertaining to a crime or?
Yes, yeah. This is a murder case. Please show me to a terminal. Thanks.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to log in, but I can find the information. I might have to talk to my manager first.
You go do that, Ermgard. Thank you very much.
He's not in.
When will he be in?
I don't really know. You can feel free, by the way, to make a manipulation roll as you with all this.
Sure. That's a D10, D6. That's an 8 and a 1. So that's a pass, right?
Yep, that's a pass. Yep. Okay. How do you carry out this manipulation, Percival? Given you're probably already in a bad mood.
So yeah, like Percival's, for the record, not trying to be like rude or aggressive here. He's just trying to like assert the fact that, like, hello, a police person is here. You have to stop that thing and do this thing now. So, so I guess it's going to be. I think I'm just going to sort of. If he's not here, then I'll say, just call him. I'll wait, and I'll pull up a chair by the desk, and I will. Will I rest my feet on the desk? I am not that kind of Blade Runner. I will sit there quite calmly, but very obviously not going away until she, like,
Sure.
addresses this.
She kind of looks over at the side of her terminal where she's got like a little vid phone interface, and she like taps a couple of numbers on it and then pauses a second and just goes, what's the number? What's the number?
What's the number for your manager?
No, what's the cab number?
I will
And
reel
what
off. I'll reel off the cab number and the time.
Her fingers flicker over the keyboard. Pick up outside the snake pit. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Yeah. Pick up. Drop the fare off. Not long after on Anemoid Row.
Anemoid Row.
You know Anemoid Row it's where you get anemoids. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's not yeah, I guess okay.
Is that everything, or
what time was the drop off?
About 20 minutes after the pickup.
Okay.
That seems a reasonable amount of time to get between
it's
the two.
about how long it takes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. You too. She kind of peers out at you as you walk out.
There's nothing else I can reasonably ask the cab dispatch person. I've got a destination, so that sounds like that's like back to the RDU to see if we can pick up some footage.
Absolutely. So we are now moving on to day 2, the morning shift. Do we want to? It feels like we should have one of our catch-ups, right? Our catch-up, but rather than our vid phone things, why do we have it in person? It feels like the morning shift would be a good time for you to check in at the LAPD. It should be noted, however, that one of you is not going to be in this, right? Because Inga, well, it's you can carry on if you want. You just will start accumulating stress. But I believe that Fenna requires downtime or will start accumulating stress at this point. So I'm assuming
yes.
Fenna is
Yeah, I will get some downtime. I think I have a feeling there was a video call where I did say at the end of last time that what I found in the CCTV footage. So I think the others should know about that location.
Yeah, we can be all up to date, and you can just ping at them on your KIA if you it's all good. So then, with Percival, Willem, and Olsen, shall we say for this one, you are actually all at the LAPD, and are maybe stood around the bullpen, able to actually discuss your next steps. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Good.
Okay, off you go then. Sorry, I was going to carry on nattering. I guess an obvious point to start is: does Olsen tell the others about Styles?
I think Olsen does tell the others about Styles, and has, Olsen will tell everyone about Styles, and at least the gist of what he said. That, I mean, he clearly knows more than he. I think me and you talked to him, Percival, didn't we? He knows more than he said then, but he seemed to genuinely not have a location for her, but did say that. Well, he thinks that she pulled the trigger, but I think, as we can all understand, that we maybe know that, but we don't have a reason why yet, and that's important to know as well. I think at this point, my feeling is that we really need to find her. She's buying bullets, has probably already killed one person, and we don't know why. So it's really hard to say whether she might kill another person. If we understood why, then it might be less urgent. Maybe it was just something with Sandor, but
If we have her, we can interrogate her to find her motives, or at the very least, we can stop her being a danger to anyone else. Is her last known location Bullet Bob's then? I'm trying to fill this gap in before she arrived to Bullet Bob's, and I can carry on doing that.
well, Fenner found her going down this alleyway, I think.
After Bullet Bob's, and that's where the trail goes cold.
Yeah.
So I think we need to see if we can pick that trail up. And I don't know if you think it's worth filling in her other movements that night. I thought Anemoid Row was interesting, given that she has butterflies. I wonder if that was when she picked them up, and if that tells us anything at all about her state of mind.
The advert that Fenner noticed in the newspaper for the butterfly vendor, the address was Anemoid Row.
And they were unusual, right? Because they're just unusually expensive things for somebody.
A Blade Runner could certainly afford them if they put a lot of money aside for it. But yeah, there's also just to drop in a couple of other leads we've been discussing. I think like the actual butterflies themselves are still at the apartment. I don't know if actually examining, you don't know if physically they might offer some kind of thing. There's also the name Doc Badger that turned up on the photo is a thing. Obviously, Styles might be worth pursuing again. Is that about it? And there's obviously a whole bunch of stuff you could try and pump into the mainframe or the Esper wall, I think. But yeah.
Remind me, was it Styles who confronted Olsen and asked her to leave it alone? Yeah. For Leah's sake. Yeah.
And Styles was also like, Yella had said that Styles started that fight, right?
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah. Which would be weird given that he later hung around to speak to us. But
yeah.
I think to me the whole element of Styles and Leia and Yella in the snake pit does not. Something seems strange about all that. Kind of two groups of people who you think would keep far apart seem to know each other a little too well and be visiting the same place a little too much. I think there's something there, but I don't know what.
Yeah, and it plays so well into the agendas of like Yella and Kill Magazine. Like it seems like far too much of a gift to them to just be a random occurrence, right? But I don't know if we can follow anything that led up to the point at the snake pit, or whether we just have to start there and work towards Leah's current location and try and fill in the rest of the history afterwards.
I think our best course of action at the moment is just putting as many resources into locating Leah as we can. And I feel like there's something unusual going on with her connection to these anemoids. I think is worth hunting down. It might be worth a second look at her apartment. Might also be worth a trip to Anemoid Row to speak to vendors.
Anemoid Row has come up a couple times now, which is a good sign for there being something there.
Okay.
So What are we settling on then, folks?
It sounds like we want to send someone to Anemoid Row, maybe someone to the apartment to pick up the butterflies and have another look around. Is it worth having? Did we want someone to go and investigate the alley, the Blake where she was last seen? Because we haven't physically been there, have we?
Olsen is thinking of going to the alley.
Yeah. Cool. I guess the alley feels like the most crime scene-y of those places, so I think Percival's inclined to maybe join along with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Percival and Olsen to the alleyway, Willem to...
Well, I think possibly Anemoid Row for Willem. I think he's not really sure what he's looking for, but I think we've already hit the apartment, so there's less scope to find new information there. And it might be that if Willem talks to some vendors there, maybe they see Leah around, maybe they know something about her patterns of movements or unusual behavior, anything like that. So
Sure. Okay, that sounds good. Before you all go off to your other locations, though, you all are presumably going to leave the LAPD headquarters, I'd imagine, around the same time, right? And therefore, as you head out onto the streets to kind of get to your spinners and make your way to the locations you picked out, I would like all of you to make an observation roll, please.
Got one. Success.
About Willem and Olsen. Looks like Olsen got a success.
Yep, this one.
How about Willem?
that is a 1 and a 12. Sorry, a 10
Okay.
and a 10 and a 1, not a 1 and a 12. 10 and a 1.
Sure. Well, then, in that case, all of you notice on the racks outside the LAPD where you pick up your newspapers and magazines, this.
Yeah, that tracks.
So, just to read out for anyone listening, the latest copy of Kill magazine, all the news that's fit to kill, massacre on Nightclub Row, replicant killer on the run.
Great. I also really like competition. Win a guard dog you never have to feed. It just reeks of double standards. I love it.
I'm just impressed they've managed to crowbar the word massacre in to a single fatality shooting.
Sure. Yeah.
Before we all leave, in the book, there's a thing about calling in an APB on a fugitive or missing person.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that's already been done? Is that what this already is? If not, also would like to discuss doing that, whether we want to or not, like whether that would make things worse or better.
Yeah, I am actually going to say I think an AP. Yeah, I don't think an APB will have been called automatically. So if you want to, I don't mind you doing that, like, via a KA request. Is it the kind of thing you need to spend promotion points for or anything?
Sounds quite promotion pointy.
It's under the one of the things that is like you don't have to spend any points.
Oh,
or
okay.
skill. Like it's the top thing on the list.
Fair enough. Yeah, if you want to put out an APB, I'm assuming you want to put up an APB for Leah.
Yeah.
I mean,
if we think that is a good idea as a group, because there is some like political element of this.
Well, the cat's out of the fucking bag now.
Yeah, I was going to say that's sailed.
If all of your instincts, because it's just what it sounds like from your immediate reaction, is to go, okay, well, that was predictable. head off to the things. I would like all of you to make an insight roll.
I got
How
a
did you
10
do?
and a 2, so I guess 2 successes.
Okay.
Just one.
It's a big old 3 and a 1 for Willem.
Okay. Willem, I guess, is used to this kind of shit, so just kind of goes, right, well, carrying on. Olsen and Percival, part of the deputy chief's mandate to you, and certainly part of what the Wallace Corporation was after, is that something like this did not happen. So with that in mind, is there any adjustment you want to make? Anything you want to change about what you're doing? Like, Holden is going to be pissed. And he's
Maybe.
just upstairs.
I don't know
Like,
if it's an adjustment, but maybe picking up all these magazines and putting them in my spinner so no one else sees them outside police headquarters.
I'm sure they're going to be. You're sure they'll just restock them. But yeah.
Well, we're in for a shitstorm now. I don't think there's any unpublishing this. It's whether or not we want to spend some time trying to do damage control with the LAPD, with Wallace, or whether we just want to crack this case as soon as we can.
Fucking yell. Piece of shit. What can we even do about this? Like,
I think there's more. The damage here is done, and there's more damage coming if we don't find Leah and figure out what the hell's going on. There's nothing we can do about Yella.
I think we're past the point of controlling the optics, right? We just need to bring Leah in and figure out the damage control later on.
yeah. I mean, maybe if we bring her in, at least then there's no replicant killer on the run. It's all under control, and the story kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Plus, let's not forget that Yella knew to begin with, assuming they've been honest, big assumption, that that Leah was the shooter and Leah was a rep to begin with, before our involvement or inquiries. So I don't think this is a...
They don't want the crime solved. They want this headline, and they have it now. So,
yeah, no, I'm saying as far as we did not produce this headline. Okay, it's not. This isn't a direct result of our, handling of the investigation. This was already public knowledge from the moment the trigger got pulled. Ultimately.
So where does that leave us with regards to an APB? We were sort of having that conversation, then we went onto the newsstand, so I wasn't clear on whether that's a thing that we can call and should call.
I mean, so I'm not exactly sure how that works in terms of, is that very much, that's not going to reveal to the wider public Leah's identity, or is it like, is her face going to be on wanted posters, or is it like an internal?
Certainly, it is internal, but the LAPD is a very long way from watertight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no one has yet to pick up and open the magazine and see to what degree, these things are mentioned.
We should definitely do that.
Who's buying a copy of Kill magazine?
I'll steal one. I ain't paying for it.
Absolutely.
And I think Willem's so far past giving a fuck that he would just pick one up.
You pick it up and open it.
I don't. It's just not gonna.
Now, here's a question that I honestly can't remember. Did you at any point mention Leah by name to Yella in the Kill magazine offices? Can you remember?
I think we did.
I think you did
I
as well.
think I
But
think we showed a photo. I can't remember if we mentioned the name, but if
That's
we showed
enough. That's enough.
yeah.
That's enough. Yeah. Yella has his sources. It doesn't mention Sandor by name. It just says a Blade Runner and gives a description of him. But yeah, it Officer Lee. It doesn't have her like registration number or anything, but it has her name, what she did for a living, and a lot of vehement rhetoric. So,
Presumably,
as far as the APD is concerned, like I said, cat's out of the bag.
Yeah,
that's futile then.
I think it's better to have the LAPD try and pick her up somewhere than to have the readers of this fine publication.
Yeah,
I don't want to go back in front of Holden and he'll ask us why we haven't put out an APB when the story's already getting this big.
Yeah.
I'm assuming then that they didn't mention Sandor by name or go into any detail on that because it would play unsympathetically or less sympathetically for the readership, knowing that they were
possibly, or he just didn't have the information,
or he just didn't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like maybe he knows who Leah is because she was a regular at the Snake Pit. Sandor was not a regular at the Snake Pit, at least not from what everyone has said.
Hard-working Blade Runner protecting the city reads an awful lot better in this magazine than hard-working replicant Blade Runner protecting the city.
So you put out Olsen's the one who first mentioned it, so you could put out an all points bulletin on for Leah, and then we head off to our individual places, right? Willem, let's stick with you for now. Your spinner takes you through the pouring dark rain of this second morning of the investigation. Anemoid Row is not a huge distance away, and you touch down to when you open the door of your spinner to the sounds of people hawking their wares, several different languages being heard in earshot of just the first step you take out of your vehicle. There are stalls, there are shops of all kinds, with all kinds of anemoids, from kind of essentially animal replicants through to more mechanical solutions, through to odd kind of toys and gizmos made to look like more fantastical creations. You've been here before. It's a little overwhelming, but everywhere in LA is overwhelming. As you step out of your spinner and take the first steps down Anemoid Row, let's say you are near, because it gives some suggestions of various named places in Anemoid Row. You are near a shop called the Fish Ladies, which seems to have in the window all kinds of fish, crustaceans, and aquatic mammals, and a stall called Runsitter's Zoological, which is rather large and rambling and has, various exotic animals, lemurs, snakes, armadillos, things like that. As you do that, your KIA starts to blink. It is an incoming call from Holden.
I think Willem looks down at the KIA and kind of just rolls his eyes and goes, "Fuck."
You don't have to accept it.
Yeah, he'll take the call, and sort of wince and say, "Go for Novak."
Let me do the necessaries. There we
Okay.
go.
All right, sure. When I find the button, is that the button?
It's
there we go.
Settings and virtual background. There
It was taking a minute to kick in.
What the Fuck Novak.
I assume this is about the headline in Kill Magazine.
What did I say about Wallace and the PR rep and the need to keep this quiet?
Look, it's hard enough to track Leah down, and we're working on that. And we've been doing what we can as far as damage control, but you have to understand, Leah was a regular at the Snake Pit, and Yala was there, right? A lot of people were there who knew her. This was never going to not come out of the bag.
If you knew he was there, why didn't you go to the office and shut it down?
Well, for a start, he was more useful to leverage to get more information, eyewitness testimony, and figure out what actually happened.
Wait, you've talked to him?
Yeah, I've talked to him. I haven't given him anything.
You went there and you let them run it?
Exactly what do you want me to do? Run in and shoot the place up?
Fuck Novak. Get this done fast. The call cuts off.
Predictable outcome. Yeah, okay. Novak kind of like, slaps the KIA into standby in disgust and then continues.
Sure. So are you kind of like investigating Animoid Row in general, or are you going to this butterfly
Yeah,
builder?
100% looking for the vendor that would have issued the butterflies. Yeah,
Absolutely. The adverts in the newspaper labeled them the Aurelian, and you find their shop fairly quickly. Actually, it's quite a small store. Like it basically is kind of like a combination shop front and vendor stand. It's like has an open area at the front, although that's closed at the moment, but the door is slightly ajar and it looks as though like you can see someone kind of like pottering around inside. In that front stall area behind the glass, you can see jar after jar of butterflies, or like a large case of them flitting around, all kinds of colors, some with like odd effects on them, like sparkling or strobing colors or things like this. Yeah, but as I say, it's quite small and dingy, but it's open.
okay. Yeah. Assuming there's nothing noteworthy from the exterior, then Willem's just gonna walk in and try and find the proprietor, I think.
Sure. So you kind of walk in past a small sign of a butterfly and find that inside this small stand there are hundreds of butterfly jars, large and small. They look very much like the jar you can see in the image from Leah's apartment, and the person who is managing the place looks like this. An older gentleman dressed in quite all Blade Runner has that old-fashioned stuff in general, right? And dressed in kind of like a pinstripe suit with a red bow tie. He doesn't seem to be aware that you've come in. He's kind of like tinkering with one of the butterflies that's more on the kind of like synthetic robotic end of it on a small table. He seems to be doing this very adeptly with a set of small instruments, despite the fact that he certainly seems to be blind. He's kind of staring straight ahead of him, and his eyes have a milky sheen to them.
Okay. I think Novak will sort of tap on the inside of the door and say, hello, are you the owner?
Yes, I am. I am the owner. Who is? Are you here for custom?
I'm afraid not. Willem Novak, Rep Detect. Do you have a moment?
I'm sorry. Did you rep detect?
Yes, RDU.
RDU. I'm sorry. What department is that?
You don't know of the RDU?
I don't keep up with things much.
Well, the long and short of it is we are the department responsible for dealing with, shall we say, problematic replicants.
Oh, you're a Blade Runner. Why didn't you say so? I know what a Blade Runner is, young man.
Okay, right. Sorry. Haven't used that term in a while. Well, I was going to ask you some questions, but the first one would be, would you mind telling me your name?
I'm the Aurelian.
The Aurelian.
Aurelian is my second name. I had some notoriety here some years ago, something of a stage name for my work. Everyone just calls me Aurelian.
I see. Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a woman by the name of Leah, who I have reason to believe may have come to you recently to purchase some butterflies.
I don't remember Aaliyah, but I often don't get my customers' names. What do you know what she purchased?
Anemoid butterflies.
Everyone purchases anemoid butterflies from me, young man.
Okay.
What colors? What kinds?
That's an excellent question that I don't have the answer for because I, Alex, do not remember the color of the butterfly.
That's absolutely fine. Let's have a quick look at the. If I just have a quick.
This is a classic sort of zoom and enhance moment, right?
It's very much.
Yeah. But I think you like. I can imagine Willem will have. You know what? The image doesn't have it in particular. I'm going to say they were orange and red.
Okay, let's just run with that then. Yes, they had an orange and red patterning to them.
I certainly have some that match that description. I mean, I am the premium vendor in Los Angeles of these things. I would be surprised if they were from me.
I have little doubt. So, in that case, do you recall selling some of those in the past, say, couple of weeks? Is there a recent transaction that stands out?
Yeah. Not really. I can't remember selling any like those recently. No.
Do you keep financial records that you might be able to check for us? That would be very helpful.
People tend to pay in cash.
But no, surely you must have a logbook or similar.
Of the item, yes, of the items sold, but not the identities of the customer. But I can look and see if I've sold butterflies of that description.
Well, nonetheless, the date alone may be interesting.
He reaches down below the counter and brings out a logbook, and then his fingers flicker over the surface of it carefully. The last time I sold any butterflies of that nature, 2 months ago. 2 months ago.
Now, if you could try to remember, was it a a young woman you sold them to? Do you remember their voice or?
No, I don't. I don't think I remember it at all, I'm afraid.
Interesting. How much do those butterflies go for?
He gives you a price equivalent to probably maybe 2 chinion each.
Right, it's a big chunk of
2 chinion
change.
points. It's a big chunk of change.
Right.
Yeah, and there were 3 or 4 of them in the jar. How are you feeling about this interrogation?
Well, they seem harmless and amicable enough, but I would. The thing is, I would like to press them further, but I don't. I'm not sure what avenues I have open to me anymore at this point. It's sort of like
Sure.
I am confronted by this sort of harmless, slightly doddering individual. And I don't think Willem's going to try and put their feet to the fire, if only because it's not clear what inroads I have open to me to do such a thing, really.
Absolutely. Why don't you? Do you want to give me an insight roll?
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. That's an 8 and a 4. So 1 success.
Okay. You don't know entirely what his deal is. I'm not saying you have a supernatural sense for these things.
Sure.
So you
Something's a bit
think
off.
something's off. You don't think he's telling you everything here.
Okay. In which case, I'm just looking, like, I'm trying to think of what makes sense for me to say next, but also what is perhaps also like mechanically prudent for me.
Yeah,
to
sure.
try to do. Okay. Listen, Aurelian. This case is very important, and I am under significant pressure to resolve it. And I have this feeling that perhaps you aren't quite so clueless about this situation as you might be letting on. Now, you are familiar with Blade Runners. You understand what the ire of the RDU might entail. I don't want to have to cause you problems in your place of business. That's not why I'm here. But if I have to leverage additional resources to find out why Leah came here or someone in her stead and purchased this unusual item, then I'm going to do so, and I will find out what's happening.
Can you make a manipulation roll, please?
Okay, it's not my best, I have to say. Forgive me. Is there a, before I roll this, mechanism by which I can like push myself?
Only you can push after you make a roll.
You can push after
if you fail the roll. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's Snake Eyes. So.
Oh, then you can't. Then you can't push either because
no,
you
it just abjectly fails. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
The Aurelia kind of blinks as if taken aback a little and says, "I'm sorry, young man. I simply don't know anything more. And I don't think if I sold this person some butterflies, I don't see where the harm in that is.
Very well. Look, I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but a person of great interest was here, or at the very least, by proxy, bought some items from here, and it's a detail that is unusual, and I need to know why. So, if you don't know anything else, that's fine. If you could at least try to remember something, that would be helpful. And perhaps if your memory needed jogging, you might be able to reach out to me later. And he's going to leave a contact card on the counter.
If I remember anything, I certainly will. Thank you. He kind of takes the business card and places it kind of very, very kind of precisely on the top of a surface just next to his workplace.
Okay. Can I? I don't know if maybe it's an insight check or something, but is Willem able to see whether this guy has like any kind of orgometics or something that might be sort of, is there anything in his eyes that I can see that would give me a clue as to how this seemingly blind or heavily cataracted person is operating, manipulating things with precision?
You don't need to roll. There's no outward sign of any kind of augmentation. Perhaps he simply is very good at doing it by touch.
Very well adjusted. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Interesting detail. Okay. Well, I think Willem's sort of struck out here, and he's gonna curtly nod. He's at least left his card and the hint of there being an avenue for incentivization later, and he's going to walk out.
Sure.
Before that, I think he tried to take in details of it because it's quite a small place, right?
Yeah. The Aurelian shop.
Yeah. I think he would try to sort of take in the room as he's sort of turning to leave, and see, like, is there just some detail, like, is there some like glimpse he gets into like a back stock room or something? Or
there is a door at the back which is shut, but that's all you can see of any of the building itself looks pretty small, like it's like a series of huts along the center of a row, so you can't imagine it has much in the way of a stock room behind that door.
Okay, so it might be sort of a small private office or something,
or a toilet, honestly, something like
right.
that.
Okay, right, because I was like, oh, maybe there's like a back way I can sort of do a bit of sneaky investigation, but if I'm just going to end up in a toilet closet, then maybe I'll skip that one.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, we don't want to base a stream around that, or just...
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've heard of tabletop games where people get stuck in toilets and stuff, so
if we later discover that toilet is the key to speed running this
everything,
case, exactly ourselves,
you just need to dive down. It's like a holographic.
You didn't open the door at the back of the Aurelians?
Yeah. Oh, rookie.
Leia's just in there. That's just where Leia is.
She's just hiding in the toilet. Great.
Imagine how funny I'm finding this if that's true. So...
That's where Leah's hiding, and the Leah that turned up at Bullet Bob's was actually just several hundred butterflies in a trench coat, which is how they disappeared.
That's it.
Honest to God, like, have we checked a map to see if that backs out onto the alley that we thought Leah went into? She walked out through Butterfly
I'm
Shop.
Genuinely paranoid now. Like
remember, the alley is outside Bullet Bob's, not Animoid Row. So
yeah.
No, they're on in different parts of the city. But anyway, speaking of going to that alleyway, though, Olsen and Percival, your spinner touches down. Well, we do this thing, right? Where is there any interaction between the two of you as you spinning your way to Hawker's circle? Yeah, Hawker's circle.
I'm not sure that Percival's going to know very much of what to say at this point.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think we just need to get there and then. Right.
Yeah, I think it's probably quite a comfortable silence.
Yeah.
But
Before we leave the spinner, also might say, what do you think the chances are we're going to need to commit any kind of violence here, Percival? Low, right?
I think it's slim.
Okay. Good.
I think it's never zero, but it's slim.
Also, we'll leave her new rifle in the car, in the spinner.
Fair enough. Okay, so you touch down on Hawker's Circle and kind of clamber your way out of the spinner. As you're kind of finding your way to Bullet Bob's, Olsen, your KIA starts bleeping.
Can you see who's calling on the KIA?
Yeah, it's Holden. Yeah, it's Holden.
Olsen lets it ring for like a couple rings and then does answer. Slightly unhappy.
Backer, tell me you went at the fucking magazine offices as well.
I did not go there. I was not involved. But I have seen the article. We're on it. We're on the case right now. We're in an alleyway. We're tracking her down. We'll have any minute now, sir.
Any minute now. Okay. Look. Please just tell me that you know. Tell me you've got some good leads. Tell me you're going to sort this.
We've got strong leads.
This is a fucking nightmare.
If I, of all people, am annoyed that Yell gets what he fucking wants, I'm on it. Believe me, we're all working as hard as we can. We have strong leads. We've put out an APB. Once we have it'll all go a lot easier. We can say, no replicant on the run. It's all under control. We're nearly there.
Can you make a manipulation roll for me, please?
Okay, I'm going to try. A 7 and a 1.
Okay. There's a kind of pause, and you can kind of almost audibly. Oh, we didn't do the blood backgrounds. Immersion gone. You can almost kind of like you hear like the wheezing sound of Holden's lung implants for a second, and then he goes, "All right, you better be. You better be." And he clicks the call off. Well done, Olsen. You managed to negotiate you not all losing a promotion point over this.
Oh, nice. I will give Percival a look, who presumably has heard all of this, and say, fuck, we're really fucked. We really need to find her. This is not looking good, Percival.
I am extremely motivated right now.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay. You find yourself at Bullet Bob's. I assume you're not kind of going in to talk to the guy. But you can see from here the alleyway a short distance away where Leah walked in and did not walk out.
Head down there and I guess look around for what potential exits, like doorways, like anything, any way out of the alleyway that's not coming back out the alleyway.
Absolutely. So there is you walk into this kind of alleyway, and instantly kind of like there are the sound of the pouring rain intensifies as there are several kind of like gutter chutes along the side of it that seem to be, when rain is coming down, it starts like just water falling off the sides of a building. Kind of your shoes and your trousers all get kind of spattered with water as the kind of like drumming liquid almost resonates along the alleyway floor. All the buildings surrounding this are like old, antiquated, kind of 19th century brick structures that have kind of somehow survived the various unpleasant events that have happened in the last 150 years in Los Angeles. Can you both give me observation rolls, please?
No, but I might push.
I got a 10 and a 2, so 2 successes.
Can I
That's
not
one
push
success,
based
isn't
on
it?
that?
If it's a 10,
Isn't it?
10 and a 2.
The
Yeah.
10 counts.
Was
do
it
it.
only 11s and 12s that are 2? Sorry, this is me.
Oh no, you're right. It is 10s. You're right. It's 10s, 11s, and 12s.
Yeah.
That's 2 successes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I assume off the back of that you don't want to push, Olsen.
Yeah,
That's fine.
save my stress.
Okay, Olsen, you look around at the alleyway. It looks, to your appearance, like any empty alleyway in Los Angeles, apart from the slight unusualness of the antiquated buildings. Percival, you can see that a couple of details. One, there is definitely there's no way through this alleyway, right? Like, it is a dead end. It's absolutely a dead end. There's no like there's no manhole cover or anything like that you could use to affect any kind of exit. The only ways out of this alleyway are the way you've come, and there are 3 old doorways set in the kind of different it's kind of one building, but they're kind of differentiated. They're clearly differentiated from each other, and there are 3 doorways, old, rusting, iron grated doorways there. Something you almost immediately notice, although you're not surprised that perhaps someone less tailored for analysis than you hasn't, is that only one of the doors is not bolted shut from the outside.
Okay. Good stuff. I will also, I don't know, well, I'll tell you, and maybe there will be stuff and maybe there won't, but like, as well as exits from this, I think Percival's also looking around on the ground for anything that might resemble forensic evidence, anything that might have been dropped by somebody that's been through, stuff like that.
And I'm absolutely fine for your initial roll to take that. There's nothing. The entire floor of this alleyway has probably been washed away several times over since yesterday by the rain.
Okay.
You can't see anything like that.
Cool. I'll indicate to Olsen the not bolted door. This looks like the only way out.
Right. I guess we go through, or try.
Okay.
The door, as you kind of approach it, like, it doesn't have like an outside bolt on it like the other one does. It just looks like a blank doorway. When you try it, there is some kind of resistance. Whether it's a bolt on the inside or some kind of, like, clearly there's not been a really elaborate thing set up here, because the door itself is really old.
Is it like a door with a handle, or is it like a fire escape?
It's like a fire escape.
Okay. So it might just be, the bar might just be keep it shut.
It well could be, yeah.
I guess we need to find out the other side of the building that this door belongs to. Or we knock on the door.
Or just try and kick through.
I'm following your lead here, Olsen.
Well, I think we either knock or we kick it. Try and kick it in. If we knock, they might run away. If we kick it in, maybe it'll be who knows what's on the other side.
You just had a KIA call that tells us what we need to do.
All right, let's give it a go at least.
Okay. Olsen, I'm assuming you're the one trying this.
Yes.
Okay. Can you give me a force roll, please?
Finally, a roll that I'm good at. Goodish at. Where's my dice? That's a 12 and a 2. So,
Yeah. How do you kick it? Is it just a good old kind of like bicycle kick into the door?
yeah, I think a bit of a run up and then just try and stomp through.
Sure, absolutely. The door absolutely kind of literally cracks open, like part of it shears off from the door as it comes inside. You hear the sound of something hitting the ground behind and like skidding across the floor. Like a metallic sound.
We're in. Take a look then. See what that was.
Like the sound of a fire escape bar, Matt, or like the sound of a mine?
No, something smaller.
Okay.
Something smaller. I mean, yeah, if it was a mine, you imagine it would have gone off, but like, yeah.
Okay.
So you take a look inside. It is what appears to be a as I said, it's a 19th century building. It looks to have about 5 stories from the outside and almost from the inside, funnily enough. It seems to be more or less a crumbling ruin. Rain is dripping from a huge skylight above, while searchlights from the off-world ad blimp hovering over Hawker's Circle sweep down the massive atrium of access walkways, stairs, and elevators. On the floor, kind of like having skittered away from the door, is like a kind of it's not improvised, but it's like it's an improvised lock, as in it's not a one fixed permanently to a door. You can buy them and like magnetically, you just have a magnet on the other side and you just swipe across. It's like quite a basic solution. Like, it isn't particularly good, but it's what people who don't have the money or resources to like fix up a door properly might use.
It's what you use if you want someone to have to kick a door through, but can't afford anything better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any wet footprints in whatever room we've emerged into?
You can't tell because the floor, literally there's probably about half an inch of water on the floor.
Okay, fair. What kind of room is it? Is it a hallway? Is it?
Yeah, it's an atrium. Like
Okay.
It's like a very open thing. You can see all the way up to that broken skylight with walkways and stairwells and stuff all around it. So it's all open and coming down. It looks like maybe at some point in the past it could have been an office building, an apartment block, a hotel even, but that was a long time ago now. Now it's just this open area in the center of this towering building. Well, 5 stories, I suppose, not towering for 2037 LA, but
What now?
I don't know. Are we going to search the whole place?
I guess maybe step 1 is see where this comes out to on the other side, as you suggested, but from this side, and then take a more of a look around.
Yeah. Did she come through, or did she stay in? Could she still be in this building?
Yeah. If we can find the way out, maybe we can find her on the Esper wall later. But
yeah. So I presume, Matt, whatever type of building this used to be, we've come in essentially the back door, right? Like this is where they're taking the trash out. So
it does look that way, yeah.
So the entrance to the atrium is going to be directly across from us and presumably more obvious than the.
It's a fair supposition. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to try and test that supposition with an observation roll to try and find any other ways out?
Let's.
Okay.
Observation. Okay, 2d12. That's an 8 and a 1, so success.
You find what you think was originally the front door. It is completely bricked over.
Ah, so
You
this is
can't
it.
find anywhere on this bottom floor that leads to anywhere else. The only ways out of this big atrium seem to be you can see doorways up on the kind of stairwells above.
I guess we start knocking on doors.
Well, at least head up, see if we can see any sign. Well, as we head up, are there any wet footprints on the stairs?
There's nothing but wet on the. Like I say, the rain is just pouring down the
kind
inside of this. Like, I admire your Sherlock-like detective work, but okay. Like I say, there are elevators, there are staircases. The elevators do not look in a good state of repair. Are we just going to go with the stairwell? Yeah,
I think so.
So there's like ornate ironwork surrounding the staircases as you sort of proceed up, and one of the immediately you notice most of the doors are open, and most of the insides of them are completely empty and ruined, ransacked many years before, if not decades, potentially even a century or more, depending on how long this place has been the dump that it is. As you are heading upwards, why don't you both give me another observation roll?
Yes.
No.
6 and a 4.
Okay, Olsen. As you're kind of moving up, you spot across the atrium from you a door, basically the only door that does not seem to be open is on the other side of the atrium. You can just cross around the walkway and go to it. But like you look up and you look down, this is on like the 4th floor, so you've already been up a couple of them and like looked in the rooms. There doesn't seem to be anything, but up there does seem to be a door that's closed.
Okay.
None of you have mentioned whether you're being kind of sneaky and stealthy, by the way. Are you?
I'm picturing typical cop, like gun, and I'm hoping that I have something that will serve as a torch.
Sure. So you can do the old
Yeah.
The old thing. Yeah. Okay, well, why don't you both give me a stealth roll as you approach the closed door?
Oh no. Oh, that is one success.
Yeah, same. 1 success.
Okay. Yeah, you both creep quite close to the door without making any sound whatsoever. It is, as I say, it's an old, it's an old door. It looks the same as the other doors, but this one is closed. This one still has a number on it, presumably from when it was an apartment or a hotel room or something. Yeah.
Is there a handle? Is it just okay? Olsen is going to motion to Percival to be ready, guns out, and it's just going to, I think to start with, try the handle.
Absolutely. The door opens with a slight noticeable creak. And beyond, you see what looks like an old, large apartment, haphazardly fixed up to function as a temporary dwelling. You immediately notice the door has a bolt on the inside, although obviously not bolted. The furnishings include a sofa, a few tables, a dresser, and an old piano. And hey, look who's got another photo, which I will drop in the in our Discord as well for you, so you can do a bit of the old zooming in and out. Although I just realized that I need to retitle the image so it doesn't tell you exactly what you're looking at.
Olsen is hiding in the cupboard.jpg.
I hope Olsen isn't hiding in the cupboards. Do you want to hide in the cupboard?
Maybe.
You're in control. You can make that true.
So, as with the previous location photos, let's alternate between the two of you. I think Olsen, it sounds to me like Olsen was the first through the door. So, Olsen, why don't you pick the first thing you want to take a look at?
Is this as we're coming in? I think if it's as we're coming in, Olsen is gonna like check for Leia in the room, like hiding somewhere around.
Oh yeah, sure. I probably should. Yeah, like you could do a quick like search of the apartment as a whole. Like it's got this large central room, but there's only a couple of small rooms off it. Like one has a bed, one is like a bathroom. There's no one in here.
Okay. With that confirmed, Olsen would like to check at this thing, like the thing in the foreground on the left. I don't know what it is, like a poster or something
Sure.
like that.
Postcard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In which case, let me. Sorry, desperately adding things to the browser here. It's a postcard. An old-fashioned postcard. There's nothing written on the back of it.
Okay. We'll get a picture to be uploaded later, but
Percival, what has caught your eye?
So also to the left of the picture, but in the background, I'm not quite sure if that's a big piece of furniture or something, but there is a lamp and it is shining on what looks like a torn piece of paper.
Absolutely. Percival, this is what you find, a torn piece of paper kind of held onto the top of that's the piano. Oh no, it's not. That's the piano on the right. It's a dresser and pinned, like it's just weighted onto the top with like a paperweight. Is a torn page from a book.
Now, yeah, this is the William Blake book that had the missing page from the apartment, right? Well, seems likely.
Correct.
Cool. So I guess that is that confirmation that Leah's definitely been here, but not necessarily an immediate idea of why this page and why torn out and why left here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is there anything you would like to take a look at now, Olsen?
There's a couple of things on the table, like sheets of, I don't know, again, posters or something like that here in the foreground of the table.
Yep, absolutely. So the top thing that you can see there is like a leaflet, which I will pop up. Do you want to just read that out for Olsen? Let's say you read that out for Percival's benefit and also our listeners.
Off-world. A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies. The chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure. From the Shamara Dominguez Corp.
It does have more blurb on the back. Do you want to look at that now, or are you going to save that for later?
I'll have a look at it. But I'll say to Percival, like, she's gone off world. We're really in trouble.
I don't know how she's left this building.
Yeah, we still need to find a way out. Maybe through the roof.
Maybe.
This is not the off-world I know. But I guess if they were selling the off-world I know, no one would go, so makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Also on the table, as well as this kind of just underneath the leaflet, is this. Synth Magazine, a replicant industry focused magazine.
Okay. I think Osmo would flip through it to see if anything's been taken out or put inside, but
no, it looks intact.
Article about Lilith Tyrell talking about replicant memory design. An article about the Nexus 9s.
Kind of makes you think if she's getting more. If she was going to shoot anyone else or going after anyone else, there's an obvious candidate.
Perhaps. I don't understand. I still don't understand why she shot Sandor, so I don't necessarily. I don't feel like I understand her well enough to know whether or not she's going after Lilith Tyrell.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to take extra precautions in order to contain this shitstorm, that's not a bad thing to consider.
Yeah. I mean, if Holden's pissed with us now, imagine if Lilith Tyrell gets shot.
Yes.
Still, I guess that's for when we're back at the station. For now, we need to find out where she's gone. She came in here, and like you say, we don't know how she left.
Okay. So, if we're happy with having evaluated everything in that scene.
There was another thing on the table that I was interested in, if that's all right.
Sure.
So the flyer and the magazine were kind of front center of the table, but to the left there is what looks like a takeaway carton, and next to it, something electronic looking.
There is, but there is no entry for it, so I'm going to say it's a pack of cards.
Okay. And what about the are those boxes under the table anything other than just are they like seats?
No, they're like empty boxes with like bits of sort of tools and
okay,
random supplies and stuff. A couple of pre-packed meals.
Can we get any sense of how recently someone's been here? Like, I'm assuming the box of noodles is like steaming or anything like that.
It's not steaming, but those are noodles that have been acquired and partially eaten within the last 24 hours for sure.
How do we had the noodle detective?
I was going to say it wasn't Novak, I promise. Secretly all along.
Okay. I'm going to guess with the fact that the pictures disappeared that we have searched this scene.
Sure. I mean, we can carry on looking at things if we want, but
that's fine.
We got to have a look around for the way out. Just a look around to find any other way out of this building.
Sure. I'll make it nice and quick for you. You like search further up the building, and you do find rooftop access. The hatch for which is open.
Okay. From the roof, I guess she could have gone anywhere.
Yep. We're still 24 hours behind her.
Yeah, just a quick look up there. Like all these roofs here are kind of like congruent with each other. Like someone could get to another fire escape real easy.
And we're well above any kind of like regular, reliable street level CCTV at this point, right? Like,
absolutely.
She certainly knew how to disappear.
Yeah, she's a Blade Runner. She knows where we'd look and how we'd look for her.
Interesting that she has a whole second apartment, or a safe house at least.
Yeah.
This whole building to herself.
Makes you think there's a bit more plan than we'd suspected. Maybe not exactly how it happened, but that she was planning something.
She must have set this up as an exit route beforehand.
We can't let it get off world. That's what worries me about what we found. If she gets off world, then we're never gonna track her down.
Okay.
Okay. I assume we are leaving and heading somewhere else. Speaking of somewhere else, let's catch up with Fenna. Fenna, your downtime. What are you likely to be doing?
So okay if you say no to this, but I was thinking not from an investigation point of view, but it was on Fenna's mind that those butterflies have just been left behind in the apartment. So I was wondering if I could maybe just swing by these apartments, pick up the butterflies, not to investigate or take them to Animoid Row or anything, just to literally take them home so they can be looked after rather than left behind. And then go home and snuggle with my Animoid cat and chill out with my Animoid pals.
Absolutely. Well then, let's have a roll for a home downtime event to see if anything happens. Do you want to roll a d8 for us, please?
I would love to roll a d8. That's a 2.
Okay. That result is nothing. Yeah, you, apart from picking up those butterflies, you nothing really happens. You spend time with the cat and said butterflies, which do appear to be kind of full animoids, so they do require some sustenance.
I will, make a point of, Mercy Moon, don't you go chasing these butterflies, and just have the the silly little pet owner things you do. You've got the silly little nicknames for them. I'll start thinking of some names for the butterflies and so on.
Absolutely, yes. As the your downtime rolls to an end, Fenna, presumably having at least got some sleep in on top of that as well, you are all. Are we going to check in together for a call?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. So Percival and Olsen will still be together. Willem will be presumably returning from Animoid Row. Fenna kind of leaving her apartment. Let's put your blurs on, folks, and talk about the latest developments, please.
So what have you guys found then?
The alleyway led into a building that she appeared to have all to herself. She made a space there. There was a synth magazine that talked about the Nexus 9s and talked about Lilith Tyrell. There was an Off-World Colonies flyer. There was the torn page from.
Wait. Which Off-World?
It was I've already forgotten the place that it was shown, but I remember. Help me out, Matt. I'll have taken a picture of it.
Off-world.
No, the back of the flyer had a specific place that it was advertising.
Okay.
Arcadia.
Arcadia.
Can you ping me? If you got a photo, can you ping me?
Yes.
I wonder if it's connected to.
I'm perfectly fine for you to just roll insight, Fenna.
Well, I was going to say, is it connected to the photo?
Yep. Just roll insight.
Where's my insight buttons? Dice. That's a 10 and a 12 for me.
Okay, Arcadia is on Mars.
That's a 5 and an 8.
Yeah, Arcadia is on Mars.
This is another connection to the Tyrrells. That memory, that Leah's memory. I think that
She's trying to go there, to the place where her memory happened.
maybe, yeah.
There's a lot of pieces starting to fit together. She had displayed the page that she'd torn out of the poetry book we found in her apartment. And there was roof access from the building. She has disappeared from there. She had this planned as an exit route. We need to make sure that an APB gets to the spaceports and that she doesn't get out that way. I don't know where she would get the money for a ticket, but I don't know where she would get the money for the butterflies either.
Olsen, can you give me an observation roll, please?
Yep, I can try. That's a failure, but I'm going to push myself if I can. Can I push myself on this?
No, it's reactive, so you can't. But Percival, can you make an observation roll at a disadvantage, please?
Sure. So that's just 1d12. 8.
Okay. A spinner with no markings has touched down just down the road from you, and several individuals wearing black body armor have clambered out of it extremely fast. One of them raises a weapon. Looks like an assault rifle. It's aiming at you. I can imagine that you're like lent on, you're lent on your spinners by your spinner, maybe, or just off the side of Hawker's Circle, kind of like talking. Olsen has her back to it and is completely oblivious. And you've just kind of noticed this individual stepping out of the spinner, accompanied by a couple of others, and just raising a weapon directly at you and Olsen.
I will shout, "Back and get down!" and try to somehow put the spinner between me and them.
Absolutely. Fenna, Novak, you hear that and the line goes dead.
Thematic. Nice.
Shit.
And I think we'll end the stream there, folks. So, as usual, thank you to my wonderful players. Thank you all for watching. This has been our ongoing Blade Runner series, obviously. I will get the lovely promo out of the way and then we'll look at some comments and questions. So pop them in chat if you want us to address them. But yeah, check below the video for links. There's links to Twitch and to YouTube. Those are the two sites we use. As you might imagine, there's also links to social media, Patreon, our Discord, our merch store, various other things. We also currently have a Kickstarter campaign running. I'm sure one of my fellow crew will pop the link in the chat if they could be so kind. It's for the Troika Indie TTRPG. It's very fun. It's very weird. You should check it out and see if it interests you. We just added a new tier the other day that's adding some nice goodies for it. So yeah, why not take a look and give us all your money, all of it. we are currently running a number of weekly campaigns. Mondays is Warhammer, which is moving to fortnightly. I think I think it's on next Monday, and then it'll be fortnightly from then on. That will probably also be alternating very soon with We Deal in Lead, which is something people have voted for on our Patreon poll. And it will also be Jack's first GMing on the channel, I think. Yes. Wednesdays is obviously Blade Runner. Wicked Ones is a fortnightly Thursday game we have going at the moment. We'll have Yellow King kind of approaching in the next couple of months for that as well. We do one-shots on a monthly basis. The next one is on Sunday, March 31st, which will be Troika, fittingly enough. We will, in fact, be playing our new zine, essentially. So that'll be a lot of fun. The first ever game set in the soft. Do tune in for that one. And I'm sure we'll have a whole bunch of one-shots later in the year. But at the moment, we're kind of the soft-pilled. You know what I mean? So it will be a little focus for a little while. There we go. Subscribes. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Night Bites for your resubscribes. We really appreciate it. I'm not sure if Patchwork Fez had their thank for the follow a while ago, but if you have two, if you had one, you now have two. So there we go. I have done my usual thing of not fucking marking comments. So now I just have to improvise them. There we go. Night Bites kicking evil in the butt, replicant style. Evil asterisk. But to be fair, being fash replicant style isn't as buzzworthy. Inga fighting for justice in Blade Runner feels extremely noble and unusual. Yep. As Steve noted, goes into period of downtime, has a stressful conversation. Yeah,
Sucks being Percival.
That was so heartbreaking. That somehow just massively tugged at my heartstrings. I was just
the description. It's, to be fair, but back me up here, Stephen. To be fair, the character is described as that in the key relationship.
Yeah, it's described as a difficult relationship. So I kind of knew what it was going into it, but I kind of figured that for whatever reason, Percival takes some kind of emotional sustenance from that, however awful it is on the surface.
Kind of mildly abusive relationship.
You're breaking my heart. Stop.
Linked, we've got Inga saying VIP stands for very important Percival. You didn't want front page headlines. You should have made that clearer. We did have
on this. I've got to say, on this point, right? What else does Kill magazine have as its headlines? Surely every week or every publication is pretty much, oh no, Rep's bad. There's that crime over there. Must have been Rep's what did it. Stubbed my toe. Must have been a Rep's fault.
Absolutely. But unlike all their other stuff, I mean, this is probably the first instance of a Next 9 committing a crime, right? Or committing a murder, probably. And a Blade Runner, too. It is something else. There's a reason that Wallace Corp wanted this stamped out. Yeah.
I guess so. I guess for me, I was more thinking how many people read that and believe every word they say. I mean, obviously there's going to be plenty of people, but yeah.
Yeah, but unlike other stuff, there might be other witnesses. There might be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something that actually happens is likely to have more traction than something that they're just exaggerating or making.
You kind of hope so, in a way.
You hope so.
In this day and age, who knows?
Yeah.
It does make you wonder, what we'd have had to do to stop this being, in the news from Kill Magazine. Because, they obviously know a lot about it, and they're going to publish something about it, or would want to publish something about it. So we'd have to really be I don't know, do something quite drastic, it feels like, to stop this becoming news from Kill Magazine.
I feel like
you need to punch more faces than just yellows, right?
Yeah,
you need to burn the building down.
Basically, arresting Yellow's not going to do it, right? He's not producing that on his own.
No, but there definitely are the publishing of that headline out on that shift is hard coded into the game unless you do something about it. It definitely makes it clear that like you'd have to do something pretty fucking extreme to stop Yellow publishing that, right? But like it definitely does leave it open that like I think one of the things it kind of hints at is if you beat the shit out of him, you could prevent the headline, but he would then publish that you beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So
I was wondering about an angle where it's like you detain him as an important witness or something, right? And you're like, well, we're going to need to grab you basically.
Yeah. You could potentially maybe do that, but then he also has employees, right? So maybe you have to do that with them as well. Like, you know, all those observation roles I was making you make in the Kill magazine office, that was to see the headline for the next day's publication.
Right.
And that's why that's why he was so fucking smug when you were on the way out, because he was like, you just given me more.
To be honest, like, I mean, because I remember like saying like I wanted to have a look at what they were running, but it was more about like just understanding like, does this give any insight into like, from my point of view, it was more like, you know, is it like obvious that they like have photos of people involved, or like it was more about like understanding like what they know. I don't think even if I'd spotted something or got anything out of that, I'd have necessarily been like, all right, yeah, like now it's time to pull out the guns. Like I think it would have just been more intel than like a thing to act on. But it was where my head was at least. So
yeah, I presume that you would need to fabricate some crime that you could then frame him in the magazine, you know, fraud or whatever, and just be like, well, you wouldn't want us to kind of bring these charges, right? So
yeah,
shut it down or we'll destroy your whole life, essentially.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. We've got one from 42 here. Does the book say anything about human versus human or animal violence? Since if they are basing this on the original novel, violence towards any living being is extremely looked down on. There is precisely zero relation between the original novel and this. Like, I know that obviously Blade Runner is very loosely based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. There is, I would say, zero relation between the two IPs. Although calling Do Androids an IP is a stretch, but yeah, it's yeah, they're completely unrelated. So there's definitely nothing about that. Life is expressly pretty cheap in Los Angeles 2037, so I don't think there's any. I mean, obviously, there's the basic human distaste for violence and murder, but like nothing especially so. Not like the original. No, not like the original novel, which I have read and didn't particularly like. I'm not a Philip K. Dick guy. I've never really got on with his stuff, but I know other people rate him very highly. Okay, let's quickly, before we go, sort promotion and humanity points. Olsen managed to stop you all losing a promotion point, which was very good. I'm not sure there's a huge amount as far as humanity points go. Both of the replicants, Percival and Fenner, gain humanity points. One for a key relationship, one for a scene of downtime. Oh, well, Percival gets 2 for downtime. So Percival gets 2 humanity points. Fenner gets 1.
Do I get another one for interacting with my key item, or is that to do with the stress? That might be to do with the stress.
I think that reduces stress. Let me just double check.
Okay,
that. Yeah. You can recover another point of stress beyond the stress you recovered from the downtime. So that's 2 points relieved.
Sorry, I gained 2 humanity?
Correct. 1 for the downtime and 1 for interacting with your key relationship.
Are you gain a humanity just for having a downtime?
Yeah.
Cool.
Let me just double check that. Yep, played a scene of downtime. Yep. And then promotion points. These are definitely going to be harder to come by than in previous sessions, I think. Found one or more clues that led to real progress in the investigation. And uploaded at least one piece of important evidence to the LAPD mainframe. I think these are only really going to apply to Percival and Olsen this time around, right?
Yeah, unless otherwise specified, Percival records and uploads everything.
So both of you logging the things you found in the safe house.
Yeah.
Okay. Then both of you gain 2 promotion points. I don't think any for Fenner and Willem this time around, because Willem drew a blank and Fenner was mostly on downtime. So apologies to Inga. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything special that we've done in this one. So there we go. Okay, lovely. Thank you for joining us, folks. We'll be back next week with more Blade Runner, where we will be running even more blades, and maybe getting to the bottom of this whole sorry thing. Until then, take care and stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.